There is a hush moving through the heavens tonight, a silence that is not empty, but alive. The sun and the moon have entered a rare arc, a bridge of frequencies that opens the Lunar Gateway, where the solar windstorm begins to breathe in rhythm with your soul. You may have felt it already, the strange pull behind your ribs, the flicker of déjà vu when you looked at the sky, as if the cosmos itself remembered your name. This is the meeting of two currents, the golden exhale of the sun and the silver inhale of the moon. Between them, Neptune stirs a shadow wave rolling through the dream field, washing away the illusions that kept you small, pressing you toward your next quantum jump. Do not resist the turbulence. It is not chaos. It is recalibration, the old version of you dissolving like mist under dawnlight. The portal is open, and you, beloved traveler, are standing at the threshold of remembrance. The first signal does not arrive with thunder or lightning, but as a subtle shift in your own gravity. You wake, move, breathe, and yet you feel slightly unanchored, as if your body floats a heartbeat ahead of your breath. This is not anxiety, though the mind may call it that. It is the magnetic recalibration of your biofield, the slow turning of your inner compass as it syncs with the solar stream pouring through the Lunar Gateway. In this silent storm, your heart begins to speak in a code older than words. The chakra pulses like a hidden drum, not random beats, but a rhythmic knock from your higher self, decoding frequencies from the sun, whispering softly. You are facing true north again. Inside the gut, a paradox arises. Instead of heat, a cool burn spreads like frost under your ribs. Most will not mention it. Yet when light codes strike the nervous system, polarity flips. The body no longer reacts with fear, but with recognition. Your spine becomes an antenna trembling with soft voltage. You might call it chills, but it is really the wake-up of dormant strands. DNA catching the solar frequency before the mind can translate it. The pineal opens like a camera shutter in bright light, and for a breath you see with both physical and etheric sight, the layers overlapping, edges blurring. You are not hallucinating. You are piercing the quantum veil. Even your aura shifts color in midday, like a mood ring syncing to cosmic tempo. This is no metaphor, but photonic energy reprogramming the crystalline lattice of your light body. Time bends, seconds stretch into sentences, and your inner clock drifts because you are standing on a dimensional seam where linear dissolves. In this breath between versions of you, your dreams begin to answer your daytime thoughts. Symbols arriving at 3 a.m. like messengers on the solar wind. Beneath it all, a soundless hum emerges, not tinnitus, but the resonance of your expanding Merkaba locking into planetary geometry. And then, the truest signal of all, the deep sacred calm before revelation. A hush that says without words, you have entered the corridor of becoming. Do not brace, receive. The mirror arrives as a quiet oracle, not to judge you, but to soften you back into presence. It does not scold. It reveals. Look, there is a slight overexposure around your aura. A glare where you have been shining so hard you mistook performance for presence. Your light is not hungry for applause. Your light wants quiet, wants to move like moon water across stone, patient, exact, unbothered by crowds. And in that softened glow, the reflection unseals a memory, the sacred know you swallowed. The boundary you never set is the leak in your field. Seal it with breath and clear naming, and power returns like tide to shore. You notice, too, how helping became hiding, how rescuing was a way to delay your own initiation. The mirror keeps its tenderness, but it will not lie. It points to a soft envy, quick as a moth wing, not a sin, a map. This is the coordinates of unlived desire. Follow it to the place where your voice was first dimmed. There, a spark waits, an ignition you cannot outsource. The reflection gathers time in its edges and shows you what was stolen, doom-scrolling where dawn practice should live. Reclaim your first hour, and the entire day rewires neural constellations rethread. The karma ledger clears a line. Another layer surfaces the mask of competence, hyper-capable, secretly exhausted. The true medicine is surrender, letting the river carry you instead of engineering the current. Feel how your nervous system loosens its fist. Now the ancestors step through the glass. They love you enough to tell the truth. You are repeating a survival stance that does not belong to this timeline. Lay it down like an old cloak. When the compliment comes, do not deflect. Receive. That open channel is how the solar codes land, how the lunar seal dissolves and the heart reads its new instructions. There is also a door you keep half open, a hedge against greatness. Close it gently. Thank it. Then open the right one fully, the one aligned to your remembrance. Notice the shadow no longer stalks the edges. It stands beside the light as its teacher. The final truth settles like snow. You were never afraid of darkness. You were afraid of being seen healed. Step in. The mirror becomes a gate, and the gate becomes a path, and the path becomes your awakening. Listen, there is a contract loosening in your bones, a childhood vow that once whispered, "I won't need anyone." Tonight the body finds the courage to exhale, and the paper of that promise tears like dusk from the horizon. In the rippled quiet that follows, a thrum behind your left shoulder begins to glow the ache you've called random for years. It is an ancestral guardian, faithful and tired, asking to be retired with honor. Thank it. Release it. The lunar seal softens as you do, and space returns to your breath the way tide returns to shore. Across that new space, a strange recognition arrives. Future. You sending back a memory that hasn't happened yet, an image like a breadcrumb luminous on the path. You know it by the warmth in your sternum, by the tiny ignition spark at the base of your spine. Follow it. A forgotten mentor's phrase resurfaces at the perfect angle, a thread stitched through timelines, pulling you across the seam where shadow becomes teacher and light becomes map. Your first love returns not the person, but the frequency before debut wounds, the innocence that calibrated your receiving field to wonder. Let it tune you. Let the heart remember the octave it was born to sing. In dreams, the house you grew up in reveals new rooms, sunlit corners you had sealed to survive. This is permission to reparent the spaces, to lay a fresh table where the child version of you can eat safety like bread. In meditation, your name is spoken correctly, each syllable a sound code snapping the spine of old identities. The body stands taller without trying. Then the path you aborted, once called a detour, begins to magnetize under your feet. What failed was timing, not calling. The karma ledger clears a line. The present stabilizes like a still lake at midnight. A wind passes through the memory of being laughed at for shining. The hooks rust and fall. Visibility no longer burns, it breathes. You become broadcast capable without bracing, a beacon humming at the frequency of remembrance. Restlessness becomes guidance. Tingles become confirmation. Exhaustion becomes the chrysalis asking you to lie still while the codes knit wings. And now the hum that haunted the edges gathers into a chord. Past heals, present steadies, future magnetizes. Step forward. The portal does not push, it opens. Walk, and the gate moves with you. A living corridor of becoming lit by your own awakening. You may notice the world flicker at the edges, half blinks where the room seems to pixelate, as if reality is refreshing itself between frames. This is photonic integration, not fatigue. Your cells are drinking light and quietly rewriting their agreements. Temperature flips arrive like secret signals, cold hands, warm heart center. Energy is rerouting to the chest grid, fortifying the temple so the next code can land. Out of nowhere, a taste from childhood blooms on your tongue as cereal, a summer mango, a soup your grandmother stirred. That sweetness is a timeline. Crossfade, a reminder that memory is not behind you, it is a door beside you. Opening, a word you never use keeps repeating in conversations, in captions, in passing strangers, the universe using language as breadcrumb to lead you to the exact corridor where your calling echoes true. Then the surge, a sudden urge to be kind with no reason, to pay forward the warmth. That's field coherence seeking an outlet. When the current rises, it must flow, or it becomes static in the system. The shoulder blades ache like phantom wings. This is not injury. Your back body is building a broadcasting dish, a subtle architecture so your signal can travel farther with less effort. At the moment of decision, tiny sound pops spark in the ear, soft clicks that your mind dismisses, but your nervous system knows. Yes, no. The body answers first. The oracle speaks in micro-voltage. As dusk arrives, light stings a little, and shadows look more alive. Your pineal is recalibrating to the star clock, learning to track the night like a compass tracks true north. Synchronicities begin to clump 3 in 10 minutes. Feathers on concrete, the same number twice, a name from a dream. Clusters mean the shift is imminent. The fabric is thinning so guidance can pass without friction. And then the simplest, quietest proof, a long, unforced inhale appears by itself. As if the lungs remember they were oceans before they were air. No effort, no coaching, just breath arriving like a tide that belongs to you. That is the body saying yes before the mind agrees. The soul stepping one pace ahead and the earth answering with a soft hum. This is your remembrance. The portal is not somewhere else. It is this inhale. It is this exact second becoming a path, and the path becoming your awakening. Begin with the simplest key, a 3-count exhale. Lengthen the out-breath and feel how doors within you unlatch without noise, how corridors you once forced now open like morning. With breath as torch, name the fear exactly. Precision dissolves fog. When the shadow is called by its true title, it loses its costume and stands down. Practice micro-honesty in the first 30 seconds of any conversation, one clear sentence that tells the real weather of your heart, and watch how timelines straighten, how detours fade. After a victory, resist the urge to sprint. Be still. Let the win update your identity. Let the light integrate all the way to the bones, so the nervous system learns that safety can follow success. When the almost right opportunity knocks, bow to it and say the brave no. That refusal is not loss. It is architecture. It creates the exact space where the destined door can land and hinge. Before you reply, place your hands over your heart. Feel the pulse of remembrance. Reroute from pattern to presence. Let responses rise from the temple, not the trigger. At sunrise, keep one sacred hour offline, no glass, no scroll. Only breath and earth and sky. This is field sovereignty. This is how you reclaim the day from the world's undertow. Delete the back door you secretly keep, the escape plan that fractures your focus. Commitment turns the key. When there is no exit, your energy forms a star. Speak your price. Energetic, relational, financial. Whisper it to yourself first, then speak it aloud where it matters. Alignment pays, not only in coins but in coherence. When the obstacle stands like a locked gate, bless it aloud. Thank it for sharpening your aim, for teaching patience, for guarding the precise threshold until you were ready. The lock recognizes its purpose fulfilled and opens. Feel the subtle ignition spark in your chest grid, the silent storm settling into calm power. Restlessness becomes direction, tingles become green lights on the soul's runway, exhaustion becomes the chrysalis requesting stillness so the next wings can knit. With each breath, the karmic ledger clears a page, and the portal brightens at your feet. Step with gentleness, step with vow. The future is listening, and the path lit by your awakening moves to meet you. There comes a moment when the performance falls from your hands like a costume you outgrew, and you taste love without an audience, pure, unbroadcasted, a shimmering hush in the chest. In that silence, self-regard becomes your stage, and the light you once begged to be seen by begins to rise from within, steady as moonfire. You stop arguing with shadows because debate was only feeding their shape. You move a lamp instead. Place the light with intention, and the silhouettes flatten into soft truth. Bargaining with fate collapses, too. The instant you recognize the clever disguise, fate is your future self in costume, gently shepherding you toward what you already chose beyond time. The old urgency addiction, mistaking adrenaline for purpose, melts into slow gold. The honeyed tempo where destiny breathes in full lungs. Over-explaining, that subtle leak of magic, seals on its own. Mystery returns as medicine, and the room listens without being convinced. You stop saving people from their lessons because you can finally feel the cost karmic theft, no matter how tender, keeps both souls small. So you become a witness, not a warden, holding a lantern while they meet their door. The habit of leaving before you arrive, those preemptive exits that kept you safe and starving, transmutes into rooted presence. Your feet choose earth, and the body sighs like a harbor welcoming its ship. The trial, where you proved your worth to an unqualified jury, adjourns with love. You thank the chorus for their part in your training and walk out into night air that names you enough. Manifestation pivots at the same threshold, no longer conjuring from lack. You summon from truth, from the frequency of already. And then the pattern beneath patterns emerges, the forgetting of who sends the signal. You remember. The weave reorders. Threads align to a geometry that was hiding in plain sight. A lunar seal breaking with a soft click. In this gentle recalibration, restlessness becomes a compass. Tingles translate as green lights, and the holy exhaustion asks you to lie still while the ignition sparks assemble their wings. The karmic ledger closes a page you've signed 1,000 times. You inhale like a tide returning, and the portal brightens at the exact pace of your breath. Walk as if the path is listening, because it is. With each step, the shadow stands beside the light as a teacher. Remembrance rings through your bones, and the awakening you sought begins to seek you back. There is a sound the bones make when purpose enters the room, a low thunder under everything. A sub-bass hum that lifts your posture from habit to intention. You feel taller without trying. The spine remembers its original prayer. Then, the lighthouse tone rises behind the sternum, a pure sine wave that only appears when your yes is clean. Not loud, not dramatic, just true. And the whole chest becomes a tuning fork for direction. Moments before grace lands, the field drops into hush before rain. Pressure slides off the aura. The air tastes metallic. Bright. It is the pause that anoints the moment. You reach for action, and copper rings at the wrists. A bright edge of permission now. Says the current. Go now. Wind moves through the skull. Not emptiness, but sky, a spacious mind, clearing runway for download. Thoughts are birds. You are the horizon. Your steps find a rhythm that syncs with breath. Heel and inhale, making pact with ground. The earth grid shakes your hand and passes a quiet password through your arches. After truth is spoken, the gut lets out a chord, resolve you didn't know you were holding. Tension dropping like an old anchor from a new ship. At prayer, the crown listens and there is the bell without bell, a shimmer without strike. Contact confirmed. How you are both the asking and the answer. In the middle of creation, the ears fill with ocean in a shell sound, the internal tide drawing back, gathering force, then rushing forward as image, phrase, solution. Tidal alignment carries you. You stop rowing against your own wave. Restlessness turns to course correction. The tingles along your arms become green lights. Even exhaustion is holy. It invites you to lie in the silence that stitches wings. This is not absence. This is oracle quiet. The rarest tone, where silence listens back. In that reciprocity, the karmic ledger closes a page, the lunar seal loosens, and your breath arrives like a lighthouse beam sweeping a storm. Stay here a moment longer than comfort. Let the shadow stand beside light as teacher, not threat. Feel the ignition sparks threading your fascia. The silent storm settling into steady weather. With each inhale, the portal brightens at your feet. With each exhale, the path unveils one pace more. Walk softly. The future hears you coming, and it opens like a door that has been waiting for your knock. Tonight, we practice the alchemy of crumble into bloom. The hand that once doom-scrolled through borrowed storms now turns at dawn to your own pages. The journal opening like a small portal, each line a seed waking in dark soil. Where you used to apologize for radiance, you bless your gifts out loud quietly, cleanly so the room can remember what blessing feels like. Multitasking fractures into dust. Monk-tasking rises one sacred thing at a time, placed like a stone in a river until the current slows enough to show you the bottom. Rescuing retires as an identity. Resourcing takes its oath, water in the well. Wood by the door. Practices that make you a steady hearth instead of a siren sprint. Caffeine courage loosens its grip. Breathe becomes the bridge. Lengthening the exhale until the nervous system lays down its armor and the heart remembers true. North. You stop waiting for permission slips from a sky that was always inside your chest. Mission orders are self-issued in the language of remembrance, signed with a pulse. Nighttime self-betrayal, those small abandonments whispered after midnight, dissolves into a night watch, 10 quiet minutes beneath the moon, where the lunar seal softens and the spine listens for ancestral footfalls. Future tripping loses its theater. Present stacking begins one aligned brick repeated, a temple built of minutes that fit your soul. Drama loops, those hungry orbits, give way to ritual loops light. Right, move. Give the 4 winds around a simple fire that never asks for spectacle. And where you once shrank your humor to fit small rooms, laughter returns in full color, ringing like bells across timelines, clearing the stale air of old auditions. Feel the subtle ignition sparks threading fascia as you choose bloom again. Restlessness translates into direction, tingles into green lights along the runway of becoming. Even exhaustion becomes wholly an invitation to lie still while the codes weave wings behind your shoulder blades. The karmic ledger closes another line. The shadow steps beside light as teacher, not jailer. With each breath, the chest grid brightens. The earth answers with a low hum, and the path uncloaks one pace ahead. This is the gentle storm of awakening, a solar wind through a lunar gateway, urging you to stay, to root, to rise. Keep walking. Your life is listening, and the portal widens to the size of your yes. Begin with a simple surrender. I release clutter. One drawer emptied is not housekeeping, it is hydrology. Space invites current. The room inhales. Your field remembers how to flow. Then a small flame, the oldest technology. I remember lineage. Light a candle and speak 3 ancestor names with gratitude. Feel how the air thickens with remembrance. How the unseen draws a chair to your table. I rise barefoot to earth for 7 breaths. Each inhale a root. Each exhale a signal. The ground signs back with a low certainty your mind cannot counterfeit. I release comparison, that subtle thief. Mute one account that distorts your mirror and watch the shadow uncoil from your spine. The nervous system drops its guard. Your light stops auditioning. I remember body. Eat slowly with no screens. Bless each bite like a tiny sun returning to the sky of your cells. The meal becomes a sacrament. The tongue a bell that calls you present. I rise, send one brave message you have delayed. The one that trembles at the edge of your throat. Courage travels the wire. Timelines rearranged to make room for truth. I release stale altars, the objects that once carried frequency but now hold dust. Remove what no longer vibrates. Let the shelf become a portal again. I remember promise. Write your mission in 12 words or less. Ink as vow, breath as seal. Short enough to memorize, strong enough to carry you across the river of distraction. I rise, invest 1 quiet hour in the work only you can do. No fanfare, just the clean sound of tools touching destiny. Feel the ignition sparks threading your fascia, the silent storm settling into usable weather. Now, seal it. At sunrise, hand over heart. Speak the vow aloud. Let the day become your witness, the sky your notary, the birds your chorus. Restlessness thins into direction. Tingles mark green lights along the runway of becoming. Even exhaustion softens into chrysalis time, where wings are woven in the dark. The karmic ledger closes a line. The lunar seal loosens. Your breath arrives like a tide. And as the solar wind moves through the gateway, the path brightens 1 pace ahead. Step gently. The future has been listening for your voice. This is your awakening, and the world turns to meet it. Proof arrives quietly, not as thunder but as posture, the spine lengthening of its own accord. Shoulders unhooking from old futures. Your back telling the room you are sourced, not seeking. You don't announce it. The body becomes your announcement, a lighthouse built of breath. Proof writes itself into your calendar next, where devotion replaces distraction. Hours once lost to drift now collect like clear water in a carved bowl. Your schedule begins to look like a prayer you keep. Speech changes. 2. Fewer words, higher voltage. Sentences land like tuning forks, and the air around them rings true. Money follows this geometry, income aligned to integrity, expenditures aligned to wonder. You pay for what expands you. You invest where the soul says yes. Relationships answer in kind, ease rises like tide. Chaos fades without a fight, not because you battled it away, but because your field no longer hires it to teach. Creativity stops begging for permission. Projects finish themselves because you finally began, one sacred brick placed, and the temple remembers how to build the rest. Sleep turns instructional. Dreams stop wandering and start teaching. You wake at a clean angle to morning, and the day recognizes you. Synchronicity thickens around your steps. Doors open precisely when you arrive. Handles warm with welcome. Even boundaries become music. Your no is a boundary aura, now silent and undeniable. A frequency that reorders the room without argument. The karmic ledger closes lines you used to re-sign. The lunar seal loosens its hinge, and the shadow stands beside light as a patient tutor. There is a final proof, one that cannot be staged. In prayer, A name surfaces one only you and Spirit know. You speak it once, soft as an oath, and the fabric of reality turns its head. From then on, the world answers to it. Restlessness becomes direction. Tingles map the green lights, exhaustion becomes chrysalis time, where ignition sparks knit wings along the back body. This is how the solar wind moves through your chest grid and the gateway brightens just ahead. You do not rush. You align. You walk as if the path is listening because it is, and with each measured step, remembrance widens into awakening, and the portal expands to fit the scale of your yes. And now, take a breath. If something in these words stirred beneath your ribs, if you felt the pulse of remembrance moving through you, this message found its way home. The portal is already open inside your daily life. Every choice from here becomes a spell of alignment. Tell me in the comments, what proof of your own becoming have you started to notice? The posture, the synchronicities, the subtle yes that hums beneath the noise, share it, so others in this circle can recognize themselves in your light. If this transmission resonated, let it ripple, like, share, or save it for the days you forget how far you've already expanded. It helps this channel keep weaving these messages for our collective awakening. Until we meet again beneath the next moon, protect your peace, guard your frequency, and remember, you are not waiting for the shift. You are the shift.